So I saw earlier today that Newt Gingrich was on one of the Sunday shows, as I'm sure he usually is. The neoconservative from the Bush administration, Paul Wolfowitz, he was also on the Sunday shows. David Brooks, who supported the war in Iraq. Bill Kristol, the neocon who, of course, has never met a war that he didn't like, according to both himself and when Bill Maher ripped him a new asshole a few weeks ago. And I realized something. If you make a list of the people that were on TV talking politics on Sunday, over 80% of them not only supported and actively support unpopular policies that the American people uniformly hate, these are people who made provably false statements and made terrible predictions over the years. So I'm talking about people like George Will. This is another example. This is a guy who always is asked what his opinion is on different things, even though the guy's never been right about anything. I mean, just to give you one example, he predicted a Mitt Romney landslide victory in the last election. It's one thing to be slightly off and say, well, I think Romney's going to win by a hair. Okay, there's really no statistical and polling data basis for that, but whatever. For whatever weird reason, you might come to that conclusion and have a distant explanation for it. But a Romney landslide, there's no explanation for that, other than being an idiot and not being able to separate, I want Romney to win from I think he's going to win based on the data. The guy's so stupid he can't separate those two things in his mind. He's so deep in his own bubble with his head up his own ass that he believes his own bullshit. So the thought hit me. Imagine political commentary was treated like a sport. Now, what does that mean? I'm going to break that down for you in a second, but think about how it functions right now. Right now, as long as you are accepted by the Wall Street community and the Washington community and just the establishment community in general. So people who make a pretty good amount of money, who have built some sort of name for themselves by playing the game and selling out to the man, as long as you are in that environment and you're one of their friends, then anything goes. You could have been wrong about everything in your career. Anything goes. You're still invited on the shows and treated like a serious human being, even if you're not by any stretch of the imagination. And remember, when you're talking politics, you're making claims of fact, or you're making intellectual arguments. We should have smart people doing that, but we don't. We have people who are just part of the little group, the good old boys club. I mean, that's what we're looking at here. So what I mean when I say, what if it was treated like a sport? How about if, whenever you say something that is correct or right on one of these political talk shows, whether they're on Sunday or any other day during the week, you get a point under a right box underneath you. So there's a little area, just like when you're watching a basketball game, you're watching a football game, in the corner of the screen it says, "Hey, Knicks 72, Lakers 65." It just says it. It says the score right there. What if, when it's political commentary, there's a little box that says right, a little box that says wrong, and you just tally up all the correct comments made by a given commentator and the wrong comments. And then this way, and it doesn't get washed out after every single appearance made by a person. Your tally stays with you throughout your entire career. So if somebody like Rush Limbaugh, when he's talking, he would have under his screen, right, 6, wrong, 7,236,412. And it just stays with you. And this way, when people are watching, they go, oh, okay, I see why this guy's making shit up. He's got a history of it. He's a moron. He's never been right about anything. And what would happen is, if you turn it into more of a sport, then people are actually competing for positions on the Sunday shows and competing for positions on the talk shows where the best record stays on. I mean, think about it. In basketball, for example, if you're a shitty fucking player, and you are your prime is 8 points a game, 2 assists, you're a starting point guard, you last one season and then you're done. Maybe 2 seasons at most, and then you're done in the NBA. Same with the NFL. If you don't produce, if you don't play well, you're out. You're done. There's no handouts. There's no like, hey, we'll continue to give him a shot. But in the political world, it's just, again, if you're part of that bubble, Fuck, say whatever you want. We don't care if it's right, if it's wrong, if it's stupid, if people like you, if people don't like you, if you're coinciding with what the American people like or don't like. We don't care. Say whatever the fuck you want. But if we treated it more like, hey, there's a tally, there's a scoreboard, oh, you're right that amount of time, you're wrong that amount of time, then what you'd have is you make it a competition, and only the people who are right most often end up being allowed to continue to talk. And this way you have people, at the end of however many months you implement this, you would have just scientists left, philosophers, deep intellectuals, people who actually give a shit about the policy aspect of politics and not the stupid actual politics aspect where it's all the horse race. The Democrats said this and the Republicans said this, and is Biden gonna run? I don't know. Is Hillary gonna run? My dick is getting hard. That's just stupid. Nobody's really interested in that stuff. We care about, things that matter. Healthcare policy, tax policy, global warming, things like this. Now, of course, this is largely a theoretical idea. I don't think it could ever be implemented because who would you trust to even implement it? That's the problem. Like, I don't trust the government to do it because the government can have its own agenda depending on who's in office. So if it's a Democrat in office, they'll just fact check all the Democrats right and all the Republicans wrong. If it's a Republican, they'll do vice versa. If it's the company themselves, if ABC has to fact check ABC, they're going to give all their hosts leeway because they're paying them. So they want these guys to do well. They want them to stay on. They don't want to have to get new hosts every 3 days, which is what they'd have to do. So the only way to get this to work is if you had like a company that was crowdfunded, and somehow we can get ABC, CBS, NBC, CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, all these guys just buy into this idea and just have the independent group of people, like the guys from PolitiFact, but PolitiFact's not even that great, unfortunately. But like have the guys from PolitiFact have a live scroll at the bottom of the screen, right and wrong for each person. God, it'd be amazing. And what people would realize very quickly is that if you're listening to the mainstream media or if you're listening to right-wing talk radio or right-wing media, they're lying to you nonstop.